I'm Rick Buck, and I've been a dentist for 17 years. In this video, I will show you what your teeth tell you about how you should eat and the best diets, and how dental health is the window to the rest of your body's health. Our mouth literally reveals the secrets that promote total body health to avoid diseases, negative moods, and even things like back problems. All you need to do is follow the health of your mouth, and it will lead you to the health of your body. First, let me explain to you about a debate that you see in the medical field. And I'm going to use an example of two different YouTubers. You see, I love reading and watching anything and everything about nutrition and health. One of my favorite YouTube channels is Nutrition Made Simple. Here, Dr. Gil Garvalo uses research as his sole source for explaining what you should do to achieve optimal health. He takes the research wherever it leads him, which is awesome and why I love his channel the most. But then there is someone else named Sten Eckberg, who also talks about health and diets and such. But Sten is already set in what he thinks is the best diet and uses science to show why his advice is the best, but doesn't necessarily let science make the decision for him. I actually try and follow Sten's way of health, but he definitely gets some things wrong. You may think Gil's approach is the best if you have a conditioned scientific mind, but each style has its pros and cons. The problem with Sten is that when he informs you about health, he makes logical leaps to fit science into what he thinks is correct, and sometimes he's wrong. But Gil, on the other hand, is so hyper-focused on science that there is no clear answer on what to do for your health most of the time. Another issue, for example, is Gil may lead you to believe that one diet may do one thing well and another diet may do something better, with no clear winner on what diet is overall the best. You see, science takes a very long time to state facts, especially when it comes to the bigger issues. They will never likely come out and say, this diet, generally speaking, seems to be the best diet. Instead, science will tell you all the pros and cons to each diet. It will say, this diet is better for feeling happy, this diet is better for losing weight, and this diet will raise this specific hormone. You get it. This is why even people that really follow the science are so confused about the best diet. That boxed in the science mentality presents a problem. For example, science tells us cigarette smoking reduces the chances of endometrial cancer and has a few other diseases it prevents. Now that you know that, you're not going to go out and run and smoke. No, because the bigger picture tells us that overall smoking is bad for you. Now, smoking is easy, but what about diet? Diet, to say the least, is not so straightforward. There are endless health studies giving us hyper-focused results, but rarely will any scientist say, generally speaking, this is the best and most natural diet for you. In fact, most science would reject that you can even say that. But is there? Today I'm going to show you that the mouth is the best obvious indicator for diets and how science proves that. Let's start with intermittent fasting and how the mouth proves this is a very healthy way of life. This here is what we call the Stefan curve. It represents the pH in your mouth, and especially the pH in the plaque in your mouth from the moment you eat and then what happens to that pH over time. You can see once you eat something, the pH in your mouth drops due to the bacteria in your mouth eating what you eat and creating an acidic byproduct. If the acid level stays below the critical pH, as we call it, then that is when cavities will start in your mouth. The acid level at the critical pH demineralizes your teeth, making it susceptible to cavities in time. However, you will notice that the pH will slowly increase back up as your saliva comes in and buffers that low pH. In fact, I did this experiment on myself where I rinsed with sugar water and watched as my saliva pH dropped and rose again over 30 minutes. The same thing happened in this study, and you can see in this chart. For people that don't have a lot of saliva, the pH in their mouth will stay at a low pH much longer because the saliva doesn't come in as fast and buffer it. So theoretically, if you kept eating and snacking all day, your curve would look like this, with the pH almost constantly below the critical pH. And cavities would most definitely be in your future because the teeth would never have sufficient saliva to remineralize them. So the less the amount of time you're under the critical pH of that curve, the less likely you will develop cavities. The less that you feed the bad bacteria in the mouth, the less of that bad bacteria there will be. This is where intermittent fasting comes into play. Quickly, before I get to the most interesting part, I developed the best toothbrush, floss, and other dental products that are in Amazon affiliate links in the description. Those dental products will give you a stunningly clean mouth. You should watch my videos about why they are the best, posted at the end of this video, so you brush and floss with superior results. Intermittent fasting has to do with when you eat, not what you eat. Personally, I have a short 2-hour feeding window each day. Others may do 2 meals a day, but the less amount of times you eat each day, the less chance you will develop cavities. For example, this study found that the more meals you ate, the more likely you were to develop cavities, and snacks were considered meals. Here's another study that reviews all the positive effects we know about intermittent fasting on humans and animals from research. This is from one of the most highly respected health journals. Here is somewhat of a list of the benefits of intermittent fasting. Obviously, weight loss, but it also improves glucose regulation, increases stress resistance, and suppresses inflammation. It fights diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancers, and neurodegenerative brain diseases. It bolsters mental and physical performance, as well as disease resistance. It even slows or reverses aging and disease processes. A lot of this is their words from this journal, the words of highly acclaimed scientists, not mine. Now, add on top of that less cavities and gum disease, which is what dentists could have told you almost 100 years ago. The less amount of meals and feeding window time that you have, the better it will be for the health of your teeth. Today, now it just has a common name of intermittent fasting. Now let's move on to something else dentists knew long before that. Low sugar and low carb is better for your teeth and therefore for your overall health, which is in large part what you would call today the keto diet. I explained earlier that bacteria takes the food you eat and makes acids that cause cavities. That food, more specifically, is mostly sugar and carbs. This study explains that the problem is the bacteria in your mouth that cause cavities are better adapted to survive in acidic environments. So if you're eating sugar and carbs, soon the mouth's good bacteria has difficulty surviving, and the more acid producing bacteria survive better, which means more acid producing bacteria thrive and create more acidic environment, killing off even more good bacteria, and even more bad bacteria survive, and it gets even more acidic from there. This is a vicious cycle that is created by sugar, which makes it terrible for your teeth because it causes cavities the more you eat it. This study shows carbs and sugar don't just create cavities, they cause gum disease too, because mostly acid-loving bacteria thrive in these conditions. You see, it is the acid-surviving bacteria that are causing gum disease too. And if you want another cooler study, here they took a group of people and put them on a Stone Age diet void of refined sugars, which also meant they had no modern oral hygiene. Over the following weeks, the plaque on their teeth increased, but the parameters associated with gum disease went down, meaning the bacteria associated with gum disease went way down even while other bacteria increased. Bleeding gums and gum pocket death got better too, which is how dentists most often measure gum disease. That is why we need to be eating way less sugar and carbs as you would do on the keto diet. We as dentists have known this forever. Now, as for your health, excess sugar is terrible for your health. This is an overarching review of the bad effects of excess sugar. And by excess sugar, I mean the amount most people actually eat in a day. It finds sugar to be well associated with significantly higher risks of 45 negative health effects, including diabetes, gout, obesity, high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, cancer, asthma, tooth decay, depression, and early death. But two things I will add to that is sugar makes you more hungry and makes you grumpy until your blood sugar is steady. So what I recommend to most people is to give up on the refined sugars. That's my advice. Now let's move on. In this study, they found something interesting in ancient Egypt. Cavities were much less prevalent back then. However, teeth grinding, tooth tooth wear and TMJ was much more prevalent. However, over time, as the diets of these societies improved, their tooth wear was much less. Most jaw clenching is related to imbalances. You might notice at certain points in your life, you are clenching more. Normally, this clenching comes from some sort of imbalance, excess, or deficiency. I go over this in depth in my TMJ videos. So if you catch yourself clenching, start thinking about what has changed. For a lot of people, it's a new medication, too many vitamins, too little vitamins, too intense exercise, menopause, and the list goes on. So watch that video. But what does this say about the rest of the body? I have had many patients where we figured out what was causing their clenching. For example, some of them were taking too many vitamins, and once that stopped their clenching, their neck and their back problems also went away. Side note, I have even had people stop eating carbs for dental related issues and their headaches go away too. My point is, if you find yourself clenching, figure out what is causing the clenching, because it likely is or will cause other problems too. Your mouth is where the health of your body starts and is much easier to understand than all of your organs hidden in the rest of your body. Get your mouth healthy and the body will likely follow. If possible, go to a very low carb diet, shorten your feeding window, and pay attention to what causes your clenching individually for you. It's not as hard as you think. Once you start paying attention to your health, I promise your body will adapt. It may take time, but do what is healthy for your mouth and your body may just follow. Watch all my daily tooth care videos I have posted now for the best techniques, tips, and products for a stunningly clean mouth that avoids tooth decay and gum disease and gives you fresh breath. My dental products are in Amazon affiliate links in the description below, and if in Southern California, my dental office is in the description as well. Like and subscribe to my channel if you have teeth.